I'm David Scandura.
I'm Justus Burkett.
And our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to find out if Mission Impossible is the greatest movie ever made.
Man, I don't know. I'm gonna miss being disreputable.
Welcome to the greatest movie ever made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
Red light, green light.
A movie that is so thoroughly entertaining and compelling that while you're watching it, it's the only thing that matters in the world. I feel like my cadence was really weird.
That's fine. I interjected and said that line really deadpan, whereas in the movie, Tom Cruise screams it at the top of his lungs while in a 160-mile-an-hour wind tunnel.
As if to remind the audience, remember how this gum works from earlier?
The gum explodes! If you remember, Emilio Estevez also said this when he was explaining how the gum explodes.
Tom Cruise screaming his dialogue.
He has two modes in this movie. He is either mumbling or screaming. Those are the only options. He had not developed quite as much nuance as he would in some of his later performances. You know, Eyes Wide Shut, 3 years after this, I think markedly he had improved as a performer by that point.
I do love cocky, young color of money Tom Cruise in this.
To be clear,
but
I don't think he's bad in this movie. I think he's good in this movie.
There are a couple deliveries where it's like, can we take that again, Tom?
Right. Sorry, Tom. You're blowing out your levels. We need you to tone it down with the screaming.
I'm David Scandura, joined as always by my co-host Justus Burkett.
Yes.
I think I've just been giving up on the funny nicknames.
That's fine. I don't need a funny nickname every time.
I haven't thought of any in a while, it seems like.
Yeah, I didn't even notice, so you know. I think it's all right. I don't know, star of a Ukrainian snuff film, Justus Burkett, which is what this movie appears to open with.
Yeah, something like that.
It is funny when the movie starts and it's just Emilio Estevez watching a TV monitor where two men are arguing over the body of a dead woman. And I was like, did I put on the right movie? This feels more like 8mm or something. And then it's like, oh, well, no, it's not a real snuff film. That woman's alive.
How long did it take you to clock that was Tom Cruise in practical makeup?
Oh, I didn't clock it at all.
Really?
Until he took the mask off, I was like, yeah, I didn't realize.
Cool. I was wondering if that got you.
It did get me. That one's really good. Props, Rob Bottin, the GOAT. The thing that stuck out like a sore thumb to me is when he's in Foghorn Leghorn senator disguise, and he looks like the guy from the he looks like that I Think You Should Leave bit, where he's got too much fucking shit on him.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, that is not a convincing mask whatsoever.
I actually think it looks pretty good there too.
I feel like maybe I just wasn't meant to watch this movie in this high definition because it came out in 1996.
That's okay. That's true. I did have my classic standard def Blu-ray, God's own movie, God's preferred movie.
Yes, the format of champions. Yes, standard def DVD. Yeah, I watched this on Hulu and it was like real crisp detail, and some of the like wrinkles in his forehead when he's supposed to be like the senator or whatever, you could straight up see the lines of highlighter and shadow. Where I was like, oh man, that just looks like Tom Cruise wearing a fuck ton of prosthetics and makeup.
All right, before we get to today's movie, how are you doing, and do you have anything to recommend?
I'm doing pretty well. I am busy as fuck, and I am about to be even busier because I have recently learned that I am going to be directing a play this summer. So, very busy, about to be even busier, but still good. Good busy, not bad busy. And in terms of media to recommend, I have continued sort of my extended run of watching Hayao Miyazaki films that I had never seen, which is, I call it an extended run because it's been like one every 3 months kind of. I'm not watching them in quick succession, but it seems like about every 3 months I dip in for another one. And this time it was My Neighbor Totoro. And let me tell you, David, I am so fucking Totoro pilled right now. Totoro is my boy. He is my main man. Fucking love that guy. Absolute king. Totoro's the best. What a great movie. What a charming, fun, uplifting experience. And it's some of the best 80 minutes you could spend watching a movie in your whole life. Fucking love to. Oh, sorry. High Priestess Pod texted me to correct me. I was misgendering Totoro. Totoro is canonically non-binary. Apologies to Totoro. Non-binary legend Totoro. Yeah. So fucking watch My Neighbor Totoro. It's like the best movie ever made. The greatest, in fact. One might say. We might say. The other recommendation that I have is. I have to look it up because they're a Ukrainian blackened noise hardcore band called Machuka, which is Ukrainian for stepmother. If our wonderful new managing assistant who is going to be posting media recommendations to Instagram is listening, that spelling is Machuka. Machuka's album Mochari is fucking really good and super dynamic. They're like I said, like blackened noise rock, hardcore, whatever. But they're really good at finding like levels in their music. So it's not just like a loud abrasive album. It has loud abrasive bits, and then there's parts that are a little bit like more like glistening post-hardcore, and then there's stuff that's like a little quieter. It's good shit. Really good album.
Cool.
Yeah. How are you? And
I'm
do you
good.
have any media to recommend?
I'm good. You and I are rehearsing a play in Prescott right now.
Yeah.
And we had a long rehearsal on Sunday, and I was up sort of late, and I was pretty wiped out, and I was like residually tired for the first few days of this week.
Yeah.
And then I became like a different sort of tired, and then yesterday I was finally like, I feel good. I'm going to walk to the gym in the morning and do a workout, and I did that, and the workout went okay.
Yeah.
And then I walked around Buffalo Park, one of our local parks that has gorgeous views of the peaks.
Yeah.
And
shout out Buffalo Park. My other media recommendation is Buffalo Park in Flagstaff.
Man, I fucking love nature, dude.
Yeah, my media recommendation is fucking outside, touching grass. Ever heard of it?
Go look at a tree.
You fucking dorks. I don't know why I'm getting so hostile with the listeners.
I was listening to And Again Into the Light by Panopticon.
Yeah.
And there were points where I was just like crying walking along that trail because I was like, man, life is so good, man. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, the majesty of nature moved your soul.
Yeah.
That's why we fucking go outside, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a late Mother's Day lunch this week with my mom and my dad, which was nice. The food itself was a little disappointing. You ever have like a food, you go out somewhere and you have dinner and you expect it to be really, really good, and then it's disappointing, so you sort of just get mad, and on the way home you go pick up something that you're going to like.
Yes.
That's exactly what I did. We went to Pita Jungle, and I got a chicken shawarma bowl, and the rice was overcooked, and there wasn't enough chicken, and it was dry.
I'm surprised to hear that. Usually Pita Jungle is on it in my experience.
Yeah.
I am a regular. I frequent Pita Jungle quite a bit, and usually they're like on top of their game. So
I normally just get an Hero.
Yeah.
Because the Hero's great.
Yeah.
But I tried something different and was paid the price for it.
Yeah.
So I was like not at all fulfilled by the end of that lunch. So then I went to Maverick and I got a burrito.
Fuck yeah.
And it was good. It was awesome.
Local, Mediterranean chain, sit down chain, disappointed you. The remedy for that, gas station burrito. Absolutely.
As far as media recommendations this week, I actually have quite a few. I listened to the album Pastel Blues by Nina Simone for the first time, and blues and jazz is like a genre I'm sort of familiar with, but I'm not as well versed on it as something like metal. It's just a genre that I appreciate more than I actually enjoy. And what a fucking awesome album!
Yeah,
let me be the first in history to say that about Nina Simone.
Yeah. Boiling hot take from David. Nina Simone, good. Yeah, I mean, right, of course.
Yeah. I listened to it a couple times, and it's just like incredible, top to bottom.
Yeah, she was the fucking best, dude.
And really, really diverse in terms of moods and the types of songs that she chooses for that record. Of course, it closes with Strange Fruit and Cinderman back to back, and that's just like a punch in the chest.
Cinderman is like maybe the best song anyone's ever recorded.
I've sort of been feeling that. We were introduced to it on Inland. I was introduced to it on Inland Empire.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been listening to it, and I'm like, this is something else, man.
I think it's maybe just the crowning achievement of music, period. Yeah. Great song.
Yeah. So there's that. I also listened to the album Maze Envy by the death metal band Siverus, which got a little bit of hype earlier this year among metal circles, and it's just really good, like morbid angel worship.
Yeah.
Sort of in the same vein of like spacey sci-fi themed death metal, like Tomb Mold and Blood Incantation.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit more progressive and use some like doom metal influences. They can be a little bit more dissonant and weird.
Sick.
It's really good.
Nice.
And then my other media recommendation is I revisited the decade-old short film Kung Fury, which is the best 30 minutes you will ever have in your life if you have not seen it, because a 10-minute sizzle reel for the full-length sequel that has been is done as far as we can tell, but has been stuck in legal entanglements preventing its release. Like a 10-minute sizzle reel of footage leaked, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. It has Michael Fassbender and Arnold Schwarzenegger as the president of the United States. If you love 80s genre movies, this is a low budget ode to that from a guy in Sweden. And if you watch the original Kung Fury, it's like he crowdfunded it, made it with a green screen and a box of props and a bunch of friends in Sweden. And it's rad as fuck.
Yeah. I've never seen Kung Fury. I've heard of it. Like, I know of it, but I've never actually watched it.
Yeah. It's an immortal masterpiece of modern cinema. And it's like 30 minutes, and it's free online. I think it's the Laser Unicorns is the production company. So it's on their YouTube channel. Right. And then the sizzle reel is also up too. So that's my media recommendation for the week.
Hell yeah.
Let's get to today's movie. The original Mission Impossible.
Yes. Directed
by Mr. Brian DePalma and starring the king of movies himself, Tom Cruise.
Yes, and also starring Danny Elfman walking into the fucking recording studio and just throwing haymakers left and right. I mean, we gotta talk about Cruise, but also, like, Elfman popped the fuck off with this score. I know the theme wasn't composed by him.
Yes, it is Lalo Schifrin's theme, and you have to give a lot of credit because that is a fucking hell of a theme.
Not just the theme though. Like, all the music in this movie, I was just like, man, fucking Danny Elfman is cooking with, like, fucking, I don't even know, like, NOS on this one. He's just, like, blowing the windows out of this thing. It's fucking incredible.
Or blowing the aquarium tanks.
Yeah. Yes. Man, that sequence is so good. Yeah, so David, I had never seen Mission Impossible before. This is the first Mission Impossible movie I have seen. I have seen exactly none of these until today. So I have no history with this franchise. But I imagine that you might have some things to say about your relationship with this movie.
I have an interesting history with this. Growing up as a child, I loved action movies. I loved spy movies. I loved James Bond movies.
Yeah.
And I had those. If you were a boy growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s, boy oh boy, were there just tons of books made for you.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of those like sort of DK style books about like spy movies and aliens and lost civilizations that had like these interactive elements where you could open it up and like there's a little thing like with the spy ones, maybe there's an envelope and you open up the envelope and there's a secret message.
Yeah.
All of those kitschy stuff that you'd find at like book fairs,
Right.
and in the cool parts of the kids section at Barnes and Noble and shit. I had a spy book, and at the time, Bond was obviously huge. Mission Impossible was in there, and then other things like the Bourne Identity movies and Triple X.
Triple X a spy movie?
With Vin Diesel, yeah.
I didn't realize that was a spy. I thought it was like I've never seen any Triple X. Is it also like sci-fi? Is it like a sci-fi spy thing?
I haven't seen it. It's actually on my shelf right now.
Because I thought that shit was futuristic for some reason.
No, you're thinking of the Riddick movies.
Yep, you're right. I am.
Yeah.
Different Vin Diesel franchise.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, they're like it's like extreme sports themed spy movie.
That sounds stupid and good.
But I also had an alien book that was about like UFO encounters and SETI and stuff like that. And then it had stuff about actual movie aliens and stuff. Anyway, so that's where I first heard of Mission Impossible, and it was also out and people were talking about it. I asked a girl out in middle school that was completely out of my league to go see Mission Impossible 3, and we never did it because she was completely out of my league.
You know, that happened to me one time with one of the Bourne movies where I asked a girl to go see it in the movie theater, and she said she was going to come see the movie with me. I think it was the Bourne, whatever the second one is. Supremacy?
I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, Supremacy.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, like, let's go see, this Bourne movie in the theater. And she was like, oh, yeah, totally. And we agreed on a showtime. I showed up. She fucking full on just didn't show. She just straight up ghosted me. and I was already at the movie theater, and I was like, well, I could get my ticket refunded. And I was like, but I kind of want to see the movie. So I, at like fucking 15 or whatever, like stood up by this girl on this date, just saw the Bourne Supremacy by myself.
Yeah, my first period was I was like the student helper in the front office.
Yeah.
Along with this girl. And to give you a perspective on what this girl was like, she was an 8th grader with the confidence to walk around with a Playboy themed purse that had that Playboy bunny just emblazoned on it.
Yeah.
So it was like astronomically out of my league.
Right.
But we didn't go see Mission Impossible 3. Anyway, the first Mission Impossible I watched when I was a kid getting into James Bond, and I did not like it because this movie, even more so than Bond, but also I think more so than the later movies in the franchise, is a little bit closer to an espionage thriller than what we would think of as like a spy action movie.
Yes, that was the thing that was my big takeaway from watching this movie for the first time, because what I know of the franchise just through cultural osmosis is that some of the later entries in this franchise are like some of the wildest, craziest action movies around, right? And like with insane stunts that are mostly done practically by Cruise himself. There's all that legendary stuff with some of the later entries in this franchise. And I think one of the reasons I didn't know very much about this movie is because people talk about that stuff when they talk about the Mission Impossible franchise, and there's very little of that stuff in this movie. This movie is, to your point, more of a spy movie than it is an action movie. And I wasn't really expecting that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I can understand why that would rub you the wrong way, especially like seeing this when you're young and wanting like a Pierce Brosnan Bond.
Right.
Right? And where, some guy with an eye patch is going to nuke the world and we have to do a bunch of insane stunts to stop it. Right? And instead it's sort of like this quiet, thinky, very like emotionally driven story in a lot of ways, where it's like it's more about like Ethan Hunt like thinking about all of the chess pieces on the board and like his feelings towards each of the people who are involved kind of getting tangled up in him trying to end up on top of this like spy game that we're playing.
Right.
Right. And it's way more about that and way less about like him, fighting Jon Voight on top of a train,
Right. Yeah. It's about paranoia and atmosphere and double crosses.
Yeah.
And some elements of the plot were just really lost on me as a kid, and because it is quite twisty and complicated, and even to this day I still think that this movie is maybe a little overwritten in places, where I think things are just a little bit too dense and complicated. And then for the rest of the series, I've seen all of them at this point. I had watched the first 4 because I have my little DVD collection. Then I watched the rest of them in the lead up to Dead Reckoning. And in general, I would say these movies get better for me each time. This is maybe my 4th or 5th time with this one in particular. This is the one that I've seen the most. And I think this is the best time I've had watching it.
Yeah. Cool.
And I think part of it is because this is directed by Brian DePalma.
Yeah.
DePalma is a director that I've seen several of his films. I've seen Carrie and The Untouchables and Phantom of the Paradise and Scarface. But they've all been good, but I've never really connected with his style. I've never found what about his style really works for me. I think this movie, in terms of what I can remember from the other De Palma films I've seen, is the best showcase of his style. And now I can sort of see like, oh yeah, this guy is in some respects like a contemporary of Tarantino.
Right.
And Scorsese, definitely an influence on Tarantino, but like Tarantino and Scorsese and Coppola, like
and Spielberg.
Yeah.
Which like there's a lot of Spielberg in this movie, I think. And I glossed over a kind of a major development in our podcast.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
We have a researcher, production assistant. I said managing assistant earlier because I think that's the title for this unpaid work that they are very kindly doing for us that we landed on. But E.T., which is how we're going to refer to them, I think, on mic, which is also, I just love that because the image that plants in our listeners' heads is that E.T. the extraterrestrial is like posting shit to our Instagram stories. But E.T. did some research for us. They will be doing research for future episodes as well. So huge thanks to them for joining the team, as it were. But one of the things that they put in their research is that it's like it makes a lot of sense that this movie feels Spielberg-y, especially the script, because like the 2 main contributors to the script on this thing were David Koepp and Steve Zaillian. And David Koepp wrote Jurassic Park and Steve Zaillian wrote Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like and also De Palma was recommended to Cruise because Tom Cruise was gonna make this movie. He already had a ton of clout in Hollywood, right? He had already done by this point he had done Interview with the Vampire, he had done The Firm, he had done Rain Man, right? So he was already like king shit, right? And he could basically take any project to any director he wanted.
He started a production company with his agent Pamela Wagner, and they formed this production company to develop projects for him.
Yes.
And he was a big fan of the original television series and thought it would make a great movie.
Yeah.
And the television series is focused on the team aspect, on the heist, on the complex mission that has a lot of moving parts. And every movie has that element to it, but of course they become slightly more action oriented and become bigger vehicles for Cruise.
Yeah.
And importantly, like this movie had a bit of a mixed reaction from fans of the TV series and the cast of the TV series because they kill off the team at the very beginning.
Yes. And the good guy from the TV show is the villain of the movie, which it's like I love that Brian De Palma's reaction to that is like, sorry, bitch, I didn't watch a single second of that fucking show. It is interesting that Cruise, as such a huge fan of the TV show, was like okay with all those changes, which seemed like they mostly came from De Palma. It sounds like Brian De Palma was kind of the one who had the idea of like, yeah, we're going to just kill off his whole team at the beginning and then like have him form a new team. And then it was also, I think it was either his idea or Kepper's alien who was like, Voight should be the bad guy, right? Like we're gonna make the iconic hero of the TV show just like the villain of the first installment, right? Not that they knew that there would be more, but
yeah, it took a while for them to do a second one too.
Yeah, well, apparently Cruise approached De Palma to do a sequel, and I do love this quote that E.T. pulled for us from this interview with Brian De Palma that he did this year, like, because there's like press tours going around for the new one. When Tom asked me to direct the second one, I said, "Are you kidding? Who wants to do another of these things again? I accomplished what I wanted, which was to make the biggest hit I ever had, and I have no belief you should spend your time making sequels." Just Brian De Palma being like, "Oh, sorry, Tom Cruise wants me to make another fucking enormous 400 million box office smash. Now I'm done with that shit." Hit the bricks, Cruise. Go ask John Woo. Yeah.
A John Woo directed Mission Impossible movie sounds a lot cooler than what Mission Impossible 2 actually is.
Yeah, I hear that's the bad one.
Some people say, I mean, it's decent. Like it's still got John Woo, whipping his dick out and delivering some of the best action in movie history. But when we're not doing action sequences, that movie's a bit of a slog.
Not to spoil my feelings, not to spoil my verdict, but I will say after watching this one, I will probably be watching Mission Impossible 2. And even though I know that it's like regarded as like sort of the bad one, between what you just said and what I know about it, which is Limp Bizkit plays the theme and it opens with Tom Cruise free soloing.
Metallica plays over the credits. Metallica has an original song. If there's like an Extreme with an X Mission Impossible movie, it's Mission Impossible 2.
Baby, I am absolutely there because you already know my taste in 2000s horror movies. So like fucking, I'm sorry, if Limp Bizkit and Metallica are there and Tom Cruise with long stringy hair is fucking rock climbing, I'm gonna be watching that movie. It's insane that it's taken me this long.
Yeah, they're all good. I think Ghost Protocol is one of the best. I'm gonna be rewatching these in the lead up to the Final Reckoning BT dubs. But Ghost Protocol whips ass. Fallout is like stunning. Like that movie's incredible. I think that's probably my favorite. But that's one of the ones that I've only seen once.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say Fallout is like at the top of their list.
Yeah. The first four are cool because they all sort of deliver something a little bit different. And then I think after 4 they become a little samey in terms of tone, but they're still good. And like it just depends on like how good the action is. And I think the action in Fallout is like the practical real life helicopter chase in Fallout with Tom Cruise hanging out of a helicopter is just like it when the movie cuts to that IMAX aspect ratio, it's just like fucking some of the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had gotten more Tom Cruise hanging from an actual helicopter in this movie, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Or a real helicopter at all.
Oh yeah, they tried. They
tried and they couldn't.
Which is another thing E.T. put in the research, which is that they had a real helicopter chasing the CGI train because they like couldn't do the train practical for how it's deployed in the movie.
There was a conversation where they're like, can we strap Tom Cruise to a real train?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
No. But it's like they had a real helicopter that they were trying to make believably chase this train, and the CGI train was moving too fast for the helicopter to keep up. So their solution was like, well, it's also a cartoon helicopter now, so that they can move at the same speed.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the movie itself, I think.
Yes, I agree.
So it opens with this interrogation scene where Tom Cruise in makeup is interrogating this guy, trying to get a name out of him.
Yes.
As far as I could tell, this is disconnected from the rest of the movie in terms of plot. Like, I don't think this leads to the...
Yeah. That was my impression as well, but also like it also doesn't matter if
Right.
it's connected or not, because
Right.
basically what we're just setting up is these spies have so many little tricks at their disposal where they can fake an entire Ukrainian snuff film set. Complete with set dressing, multiple actors,
Dead sex worker.
special effects, right? To get him to say one thing. And then they drug him and knock him out, and they're like, all right, cut. Wrap on the Ukrainian snuff film. We got the name, we're good. And then fucking Tom Cruise pulls the mask off, and the fucking banger of a theme just hits immediately. And I was like, the note that I wrote down, which happened the second that Tom Cruise pulls the mask off and the title sequence starts with the theme going, was just hell yeah. It is one of the biggest hell yeah moments in a movie that I've watched in recent memory.
Every opening title sequence for a Mission Impossible movie starts with the match, the fuse being lit.
Yeah.
Which I think is a carryover from the show. I haven't seen the show.
Mm.
And then it shows clips that you're going from the movie that you're about to see as the themes goes, and every time it's just like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, it whips. It's a fucking incredible way to open a movie. I also think this was where I started thinking, is this going to be a secret movie about making movies? Because the opening, it did feel very meta, where it's like, okay, we're watching this guy watch a movie. Right, we're watching Emilio Estevez watching the monitor, and it has it feels like he's watching a film, right? And then the film is actually like he's watching a monitor of like the spy thing that they're doing. But then they like call cut when the guy gets drugged, basically, and the walls like break apart, and it's revealed to just be basically a film set, right? And everyone gets out of character and gets out of makeup. And I was like, is this a movie about making movies? Which I love movies about making movies, and I love movies about making movies, especially when they're like not textually about that.
Right, like people say that like Christopher Nolan's Inception is about making movies.
Jurassic Park is a movie about making movies, in my opinion, right? And so I was like, is this one of those? And I think that is one of the thematic levels of this movie. I don't think it's as big of a thing as I kind of thought it was going to be. But I think that is there. And some of the like, the maneuvering between the different factions in this movie does sort of feel like it's like we're trying to get a movie made in the Hollywood system. And DePalma like was working with, he had like writers posted up in separate hotels when he was trying to get a draft of the script that he liked, because they had fired David Koepp. And DePalma was like, but I like his ideas, so I'm gonna like put him up in a hotel and secretly visit him and tell him what the other guy's writing now, right? To try and get like this into a state where I can like salvage it for what I want to do, right? And it's like, I don't know, I feel like some of that just ended up in the screenplay a little bit, where it's like Tom Cruise is like double crossing and triple crossing people.
I suppose that sort of makes sense, because like his relationship with the agency is like sort of hostile, but he's also on their side.
Yeah.
He loves going rogue in these movies. Every movie he's like, all right, I got to go rogue this time.
Yeah.
So something's fishy at the agency.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can sort of see it being a movie about making movies. I think if anything, it's more so a movie about early internet chat rooms.
Boy, oh boy, is it. The 1996 internet in this movie is just, it's so quaint and so adorable.
I think this is, we'll get to it, I guess. But I think if you want, the best representation of what people thought hacking was and the internet was in the 90s, look no further than Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Do you know what IMF stands for?
No, I have no idea.
Impossible Missions Force.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep. It is hilarious.
I get why they never say it in the movie.
I don't think they say that acronym in any of the movies.
I get why they don't, because that's fucking stupid as shit.
Imagine you're at the CIA and they're like, "All right, you're a top agent. We've selected you for the Impossible Missions Force."
I
You'd
would
be
be
like, "Is that a fucking joke?"
I would be like, they're hazing me. Like this. Okay, guys, I get it. Nobody likes me. You don't need to make up a fucking fake thing. Guess I'll just go fuck myself. Yeah. That is batshit insane. Yeah, anytime they said IMF, I was like, International Monetary Fund? Do these guys work for the World Bank? Yeah. I like that they never tell you what it means in the movie and that it doesn't matter. Because basically, you don't need to know what the spy thing is.
Right. It's like, it's very succinctly described as like, they're the best of the best, and the CIA can disavow knowledge of their existence if something happens.
Yeah.
It fits for what this movie's trying to go for, and you don't need to know anything else.
And I think the
it.
way it's set up, which is in the tape, because basically right after the title sequence, which rocks, we get like Jon Voight on a plane, and they do the thing where they're like, "Oh, would you like to watch a movie?" And he's like, "Oh, I prefer the theater." And they're like, "Well, what about some Hungarian cinema or whatever it is?" And he gets the tape, and it's the Mission Impossible thing. Your mission if you choose to accept it. I did know this about this movie because I had the N64 game, which I believe
There was an N64 game?
for Mission Impossible. Yeah. Yeah.
Shit. I didn't know that.
I had it and played it. I remember nothing of the story of the game, which is probably good because I think it was probably just the plot of this movie, but I didn't remember it at all.
Was it like a shooter?
Yeah, it was kind of like a Bond game.
It was like a GoldenEye ripoff because
Yeah.
we were doing that back then?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think there was a little bit more like it wasn't like full on like Metal Gear Solid like sneaking and like espionage levels and stuff, but I think there was a little bit more of that in the Mission Impossible game than there is in like GoldenEye. Like it's like less gun centric and
Right.
more like, oh, this is the level where you have to like sneak through the thing undetected without like anybody noticing your disguise or whatever, you know. But I remember playing that, and at the beginning of every single level, they did the little tape thing where it was like, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is blah, 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 blah. And they would just tell you what you had to do in the level, which is like a great idea for adapting Mission Impossible into a video game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Jon Voight watches the tape, and I think it's a really solid like exposition device, and the way that they use it is like super economical, right? Where it's like immediately you kind of get the whole deal with the IMF, where they're, like you said, this super secret subdivision within the CIA, and like the Justice Department is gonna totally disavow them if anything comes to light about their activities and shit. And how all of these people are like sort of expendable, right? They're all kind of like gambling with their lives on every mission like that. You get all of that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you also get the key thing, like the MacGuffin for this movie, set up in a really efficient way, which is basically like, hey, there's all these people who are undercover. There's a secret list that links their undercover identities to their actual identities, and it's really important that that doesn't fall into the wrong hands. And it's like so efficient. And for the rest of the movie, you're never wondering what the thing is, what the stakes are. It's always super clear because they set it up so like concisely right up top, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Because some of this movie does get a little convoluted, like some of the plot gets super twisty, but it's like you're never confused about like the basic kind of stakes and like the playing field itself.
Yeah, it gets a little lost in like who has the list, what are we doing with the list, who has the fake list, who has the real list,
Right.
Are we stealing the real list? And some of that gets a little bit, like a little bit twisty, and you get a little bit lost in the weeds with that. But it's really, really simple that we know what this is and what happens if it gets out in the open.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of the time the twistiness is a good thing in this movie. I think it only strays into territory where I was like, I'm confused and I feel like I shouldn't be, like very occasionally. But most of the time it's like pretty easy to follow.
So our first big set piece of this movie is the infiltration in Prague.
Yeah.
Where this guy is he's at this embassy event. And he's going to acquire a copy of the list, sell it to a buyer, and the idea is they're going to tail him to the buyer and arrest them.
Yeah.
And Cruz is going in this this southern senator foghorn leghorn disguise.
The foghorn leghorn joke I appreciate is made in the movie.
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez does call him foghorn.
Yes.
Yeah. Before the embassy event, we do get a nice little thing at the safe house where we kind of establish the team too.
It's a good setup for what's going to happen. We also get a great introduction to Cruz's character, where basically his first lines in the movie after Voight is like, "Anyone have any questions?" And Cruz is like, "Yeah, can we get a fucking cappuccino machine in here?" I'm like, there you are, douchey Tom Cruise. I love you.
Loved that moment. That was one of the early moments in this movie where I was like, okay, Tom Cruise is good in this one. You know, he's not as good as he gets later in his career, but he's fucking good in this one. Like that moment, I'm like, yeah. Also, just like super blatantly flirting with Jon Voight's wife right in front of him. in that scene, and that's like, you know, it's setting up stuff later, but like as a person who had never watched this movie before and did not know what the plot of this movie was, I was like, stop fucking making bedroom eyes at his wife I know it's Jon Voight playing himself in this movie. playing an evil fucking scumbag as he is in real life. But still, you can't Tom Cruise fucking cuck a man right in front of him like that.
The most unbelievable thing in this movie is that young French woman would be married to ancient, decrepit Jon Voight.
Yeah, it is a thing where it's like, maybe we even know he doesn't have a lot of money, because like he gripes about it later in the movie. He bitches about only making $62,000 a year, right? And so it's like, what is that about? Who knows? Maybe he has dirt on her or something. Or I don't know, maybe she's just into guys who look like fucking deflated basketballs. Yeah, anyway, I like that little scene at the safe house. I also like that in that scene, Emilio Estevez is like super flirting with the British woman on the team, Sarah. And they establish a little connection there. And as a person who had never seen this movie, I do have to say, I was fucking shocked about what happens to this team, because I didn't know the team dies. I did not know the first team dies. So I was like, seeing Emilio Estevez and this character flirting, and I was seeing like all the stuff being set up with Jon Voight and the love triangle with Tom Cruise and the wife, and I was like, okay, so this is going to be the rest of the movie, is these character dynamics. And then when Emilio Estevez gets his shit rocked in that elevator, I was like, what?
He is uncredited in this movie.
No.
According to the research, it said he was uncredited.
He's uncredited. Sorry, I thought you said he isn't credited, and I was affirming you by saying no. Apologies.
Okay, I was confused. Yeah. But seeing him in that opening scene does sort of throw you off, because this is like peak. You know, we're peak Emilio Estevez.
Yes, he's
career.
like a big deal, right? And I was like, oh great, Emilio Estevez is going to be the second lead of this movie, because I didn't know anything about this movie, so I was like, oh, Emilio Estevez is going to be in the whole thing, which it is honestly sort of amazing that I've made it like almost 30 years since this movie came out, not knowing this shit. But like, it truly blew my mind. It was a moment where I was like, wow, DePalma and company, you really got me, because I fucking was not prepared for this shit at all. And now I'm like, I have no idea where this movie's going, which I loved.
Cool. Yeah. Emilio Estevez getting killed via inexplicable elevator spikes is rad as fuck.
Yes, and you sort of see the spike go in for a second before it cuts away. This movie also just more grown up than I expected. The opening where all of the first IMF team gets killed, like kind of really like graphic and horrible at moments, and like kind of heavy shit. And then like you kind of see Tom Cruise like really emotionally grappling with it after it happens. And I was like, this feels like a movie for grown-ups. That's not necessarily what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's slow and it's patient, and it's always just a couple steps ahead of the audience.
Yeah.
I think it's really well done. I watching this movie again, I'm paying a lot more attention to what DePalma does with his camera.
Yeah.
And there's just some really, really elegantly done shots in this opening. When they go down into the vault, the vault area or whatever, where the knock list is on the computer, there's a shot of their target walking in that's like down at the floor, and you sort of track him from the floor walking across the room. There's a great shot before he gets in the room where he's coming down on the elevator. Emilio Estevez is on top of the elevator, and Tom Cruise and Sarah, is that her name?
Yeah.
The other agent that's in the mission with him. They have to dive under the elevator, and we see it like it's like an ant farm sort of set where it's seeing it through the walls, and it follows the elevator shaft up. It's all really, 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 really well done. It's really slick. I think that's a good word for most of this movie. I think it's a very slick, tightly controlled film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this opening's fucking awesome. It's moody and atmospheric, and the team dying is, I think like it's one thing after another. And I love the way that it escalates. And the Prague setting is so contributes so well to this, and the fact that like everything's covered in fog, which was done by them like loading up boats with huge fog machines and driving them up and down the river to just flood the city with fog.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And it was also like a huge pain to light this too. Like they had lights all over the place.
Yeah. But it ended up looking great.
Yeah.
The lighting in this whole movie, but especially in the outdoor scenes in Prague, works so well. It looks so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So everyone gets fucking killed, basically. Emilio Estevez. Is there a reason that he had to be on the elevator? Could we find like a janitor closet for him or something?
He had to be on the elevator because he was following Jon Voight's orders, and Jon Voight was orchestrating his murder. I'm pretty sure Jon Voight put the elevator spikes there.
when he's like, I've lost control of the elevator, and Jon Voight's like, oh no, I can't control it either. And it's clear that he's just like hitting the space bar or something.
He's hitting
like
the up arrow to send the elevator up. He's like, oh well, damn, Jack, that's too bad.
Yeah. Sarah gets stabbed with the target.
Yeah.
And the killer in sort of a like Italian giallo-esque scene.
Yes. Yes.
With the knife.
You know, between the lighting in this scene and the canals and this stabbing, you know what this part of the movie was weirdly reminding me of? The Donald Sutherland film Don't Look Now.
Oh, okay.
Right? A little. You can see it.
Sure.
It's a little, and Don't Look Now is very giallo influenced, right? But yeah, I was just like, oh, this feels like very like, this almost feels like a horror thriller.
Yeah,
with
those foggy canals, I'm sort of like expecting Jack the Ripper to come around the corner.
Right.
And in a way, it does. It's just
Jean
Reno the Ripper.
Jean the Ripper.
So he kills Sarah and the target and steals the knock list. A car blows up, and it's assumed that
Claire and
dies.
Hannah are both inside the car when it explodes.
Yeah.
Is what Ethan Hunt thinks at the time. We've only been calling him Tom Cruise, but people know that his character name in these things is Ethan Hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been practicing my Ving Rhames Ethan. Ethan.
That's pretty good. Can you say any other words as Ving Rhames?
I think that's all he says in those movies, just Ethan.
He says more things in this movie.
I'm with you, brother.
Dude, we're
gonna hack the shit out of I'm gonna hack the shit out of this because I'm a hacker.
We will get Ving Rhames. Yeah. But first we have to get to Henry Czerny, who right after the fucking shit goes down, right? Like Tom Cruise, does he go back to the safe house first?
No,
he meets Henry Czerny next.
Yeah, he goes to a phone booth and calls the
right. That's what it
calls
is.
the secure line.
Yes, and Henry Czerny is like, "Well, I'm just an hour away," and Tom Cruise is like, "That's weird." But all right. And so they meet up at this restaurant that has an aquarium like in and above it, which fucking whips ass. It's such a cool location. And to your point about Brian DePalma, his camera placement and camera moves, this scene with Tom Cruise and Henry Czerny is so fucking well shot.
Yeah, it really is.
It's incredible.
He does the shot reverse shot for the conversation, and then the moment that Ethan Hunt becomes suspicious, it's just like a dead. He puts the camera dead center, but
at a Dutch angle. Mm-hmm.
To show that Tom Cruise is suspicious.
And low angle, he starts shooting them from like below their chin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because Ethan's like, I noticed there was another IMF team, and he starts pointing out all of these background characters that he noticed.
Yep.
And the moment that Henry Czerny's or Kittredge is the character's name, the moment that basically Ethan Hunt's suspicions are confirmed, the same thing happens with Kittredge.
Yes. It fucking rocks. It is such good filmmaking. Brian DePalma, again, boiling hot take, guy's good at making movies. and
Henry Czerny just swinging dick up and down this fucking movie.
He kicks ass, dude.
I'm shocked that I haven't seen him in more things.
Yeah.
When he comes back for Dead Reckoning, he's going to be in the Final Reckoning too. That's the only other Mission Impossible movies that he's in. He's so fucking good.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to see him back in Dead Reckoning. And I'm like, where has this guy been?
Right. Why is he not like fucking one of our biggest character actors? It's crazy because he rocks in this movie. Anytime he was on screen, I was like, I'm so locked into this performance. This is so good. And the thing that the movie does where it toys with the idea of like, can you trust Kittredge or not? And it never goes full on, because when we're jumping ahead, but when Voight is like, oh, Kittredge is the mole, the movie basically immediately tells you that's not really true. Right. But even though the movie was telling me like Voight is lying, right, I still, until basically the end of the movie, was like, yeah, but there is something about that Kittredge guy where I'm like, maybe it's gonna be revealed he's in on it with Voight, right? And he's telling a partial truth here, So I never fully trusted him, and I think one of the reasons is because Henry Czerny's performance, he is doing like such a good like inscrutable G-man thing, but he's adding like so much like juice to it,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a performance that you can't really read a lot emotionally, but it's still incredibly entertaining to watch, which is like a really hard alchemy that he's pulling off.
Right. And even though you're not really sure what to do about Kittredge, and at that moment where it's revealed, it's still like, yeah, he's still got like Ethan Hunt's family.
Yeah.
He's still framing them as like drug dealers or whatever.
Right, because he's not like a good guy. He's a fucking total.
He's ruthless.
Yeah,
he'll do whatever he can to protect the agency.
Yeah, exactly. He's a company man, right?
Right.
He's just like he's like really take no prisoners and whatever. And even though he ends up, Tom Cruise ends up kind of siding with him because he's like the lesser of two evils. Like the movie doesn't really absolve him of like being a total asshole.
And when he shows up in Dead Reckoning, I don't even exactly remember his role in the film all that much. But it's a similar thing where you still can't quite trust this guy.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love this performance so much.
And I love the line, if you want to shake hands with the devil, I just want to make sure you do it in hell.
Yeah.
Good, great, goated fucking line. Kittredge is hunting for a mole. He thinks that Ethan is the mole because he's the only member of the team that survived.
Yeah.
The second IMF team was there to, try to intercept the mole.
I like Cruise's reaction to learning that the whole mission was a mole hunt where his whole team got killed, basically just for internal politics.
Yeah.
I just think he plays that reaction really well.
Yeah.
Where at first he's sort of emotionally crushed by it, and then immediately after being emotionally crushed by it, the other shoe drops and he's like, oh fuck, now they think it's me.
Mm-hmm.
And he figures that out before Kittredge even says it.
And then he remembers he has a stick of exploding gum in his pocket.
I love the exploding gum. It is such it borders on cartoonishly silly, but is like just they don't deploy it too much. So like anytime it comes out, you're just like, there's the fucking exploding gum.
If there's anything in this movie in terms of like technology that gets close to James Bond, I would say it's the exploding gum.
I like the exploding gum,
but it works.
Yeah.
Like I think the way it's explained, that you mash the two ends together and it explodes.
You got like 5 seconds and then it blows up.
It's enough that you can sort of buy it as like, yeah, maybe this is this could be a real thing that real spies use.
Yeah.
So he checks it against the glass of one of the aquarium fish tanks, and we dump a whole bunch of water on Tom Cruise and a whole bunch of
shards.
glass.
I really, really love this stunt. Where it's like Tom Cruise running out while all the shit's exploding behind him. DePalma initially shot this with a stuntman and didn't like the stuntman's performance, and was like, to hear DePalma tell it, he was like, I talked Tom Cruise into doing his own stunt, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I think
I created Tom Cruise stuntman is basically De Palma's take on this.
Yeah, and by the time we get to the second one, he is just free solo climbing a.
Yeah, I wonder how true it is that De Palma had to like talk him into it, because like when De Palma talks about it, he's sort of like, he didn't want to do it, but I was like, Tom, you got to do your own stunt. It seems like he's maybe trying to take credit for more than he actually.
But this seems like the start of Cruise's stunt career.
Yeah.
And doing these big stunts, and the second one we got him free solo climbing and riding a motorcycle and doing motorcycle stunts. It's just like, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome. God bless that man.
Yeah.
And his death wish.
This. Xenu. Xenu told him he was invincible.
Xenu built him different.
Xenu declared him clear, and now he has superpowers. That's how that religion works. You get superpowers if you believe enough in a big old alien.
Yeah.
And as long as you have no relationships with anyone outside of the religion, and give them millions of dollars. Thankfully, our podcast has small enough listenership that we won't be sued by the Church of Scientology. They're very litigious.
Quite litigious, as far as I know.
They're not going to bother with us.
Or
famous last words: the Church of Scientology isn't going to bother with us. All I'm saying is Shelley Miscavige is 6 feet deep somewhere. That's all I'm saying.
Allegedly.
So
he makes it back to the safe house.
Sorry, before we leave the aquarium, I do have to give you one High Priestess pod note about this scene. She had a punch up for the aquarium action sequence, which is that there should have been a shark in the aquarium, and it should have fallen out of the ceiling and eaten somebody when the aquarium exploded.
It's a small place. I don't think you can fit a shark in there.
She's insisting that there were sharks in there. I don't remember seeing the shark specifically, but if you saw it, I believe you. Okay. She saw a shark, and she wanted it to eat somebody.
I mean, yeah. That would have been cool.
It would have been cool. Maybe like not for the first Mission Impossible movie, though. Maybe that's a latter entry.
Tons of sharks all over James Bond.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of sharks in those movies.
Yeah.
Good, especially the 60s ones. It's always like, yes, my villain lair that has a pool connected to a shark pool.
Yeah.
That's not at all gonna play any factor at all into my demise in a few minutes.
Surely my treasured rare shark collection will not be consuming my flesh when I'm pushed into this pool by James Bond. Yeah. Villains love having just like exotic animals around, like Ozymandias has that tiger.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you can afford it and you're evil anyway, you're like, well, I don't give a shit about the ethics of owning this creature. I'm a fucking James Bond villain.
Well,
I'm gonna nuke the world from orbit or some shit.
Ozymandias' saber-toothed tiger is a bit of an Easter egg or a clue or a hint into the fact that he's been tampering with genetics and genetically engineering monsters.
Right.
Which leads to the squid ending of the book Watchmen.
I do wish that Zack Snyder had just done the squid.
If we ever do a Watchmen episode, I will be ranting at length about the fact that there's no big squid in it.
Yeah. Big squid is better than like big blue wall of energy.
That's a pretty big black mark on what is otherwise maybe Zack Snyder's best movie.
I would agree with that.
Possibly.
I haven't seen as many Zack Snyder movies as you have, but I think Watchmen is the only one that I've seen from him that I like. Anyway.
His Dawn of the Dead remake is solid too, but
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's good. I gotta watch it.
alright.
I know there's a zombie baby in that, which immediately makes me interested.
dude, the zombie baby whips. Zombie baby's so cool.
Okay, I gotta watch the rest of the Mission Impossible movies and Dawn of the Dead to see the zombie baby. Got it. That's my homework. Anyway, you were gonna say something before I took us back to the
Yeah, I was gonna
aquarium.
take us through this plot.
Yes,
a little bit further.
yeah.
He makes it back to the safe house, and starts poring over what Kittredge said about, they decrypted a message from someone on the internet named Max, who's trying to buy the monoculist, and it was called Job 314, and somehow there's a cruise arrives at like. Maybe he's referring to Job 314.
Yes.
And then he goes on the internet to look for Book of Job message boards.
Well, okay, but before that,
And it's
before he even thinks of the Bible thing, he starts by like going onto the fucking CIA search engine or whatever and typing in max.com. Which I think is so funny that it's like, oh yeah, the fucking mole is like trying to sell the knock list to this like weapons dealer named whose alias is Max. Maybe if I go to max.com, it'll just be the home page for this weapons dealer. Being like, are you a Kuwaiti insurgent in need of fucking AK-47s? Bulk order now at max.com. Like, what? And then and then he's like Bible message boards.
It's funny that there are Bible message boards for specific books of the Bible.
Yeah.
For the Christian who's like, fuck everything else. I only care about the Book of Job.
Book of Job
I'm
is
a big
my shit.
I'm a big Job head. Deuteronomy, get the fuck out of here.
Job, to be fair, being a Book of Job head, I sort of get. Job is one of those books of the Bible where you're like, yeah, man, they were cooking with this one. There's like a lot of intrigue here, you know? Is this guy gonna get his shit back? Is his wife ever gonna stop telling him to kill himself?
Yeah, there is a story there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. God and the devil are gambling with this dude's life. It's high stakes.
Yeah. It's the internet stuff in this movie is silly and dumb and bad, and I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I also think the movie would be better without it. I think with this being more of an espionage thriller, some of this stuff is a little bit too far-fetched, and it kind of just like bogs down the movie.
You mean, David, what's far-fetched? You mean when Tom Cruise sends an email to Max at Job 314 and successfully finds a black market weapon
He stays up all night going to different Book of Job message boards in different languages and sending out emails in those languages using like puns from that actual text. Where
it's like Max at Job 314 from Max.
I don't have the Bible verse pulled up, but it's
or
about
from
like
Job or whatever.
It's about like kings and feasting and stuff like that. And he's like, "Can I make some sort of code pun out of this to make it sound cool?"
Yeah. And I just love that the email address that he sends it to isn't even an email address. There's no domain. Like, but yes, I agree. It's silly and dumb, and I kind of like it. I don't think I want none of this in the movie. I think less of it would be fine, because this movie's almost 2 hours long, and towards the end, I was kind of like feeling the runtime a little. right? I was very entertained by this movie, and I don't think it was like too long, but I was like, okay, there was maybe some fat in there that you could have trimmed, right?
See, my thing was like, I was like, this thing's fucking moving. Like,
It
this
does
thing,
move.
like this thing's very, very, very well paced. And then I paused the movie to get up and go to the bathroom, thinking like, oh, we got like 30 minutes left in this thing, and we had just barely cracked an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Um.
And I think some of the fat that you could trim is some Tom Cruise doing CIA Googling.
And I think this was the stuff that really bogged me down as a kid, where I
Right.
was just like, what the fuck am I watching?
And I don't dislike it, but there's maybe a little too much of it. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it is very stupid. But
Yeah.
it's stupid in sort of a charming, naive 1996 way.
Yeah. So Claire comes back in the form of a nightmare that he has because he's been up all night Googling, pre-Google. It's pre-Google. There's no
Yes.
Google yet.
Yes.
Searching for Job message boards.
I like that
he-
to get on the internet, he like opens up like his top secret FBI desktop terminal and types in internet access. But yeah, zombie Jon Voight comes in.
Yeah, he has a nightmare about Jon Voight, which I think that's actually like pretty well done.
I
Like,
agree.
I'm not a big dream sequence guy, but it works.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's Claire, and he's super paranoid, and he's got his gun on her. And we get maybe not the first of screamed Tom Cruise line deliveries, but definitely the worst. The one that stuck out to me the most when Claire's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Wake up, Claire! Jim's dead. They're all dead."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Give me some levels, buddy. Like, find some variation, some highs and lows.
Look.
You don't need to scream in monotone."
Look, DePalma's a fantastic director. He is not the actor's director that Kubrick is. He didn't really have the juice to pull that out of Tom quite yet, I think. Yeah, I agree that's probably one of his worst line deliveries in the whole movie. I think Cruise is good in this. I think he has moments where he's less good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think you're right. I think even in this series, I think he gets better as he goes on.
Yeah.
Two's interesting. Two's again because two's just like extreme sports, Mission Impossible a little bit. If there's anything to crank up some new metal and chug a monster too, it's Mission Impossible 2.
Important High Priestess pod text. Imagine how insufferable the dude on the Leviticus board must be. that guy being like,
well, actually, if you wear wool and cotton at the same time, you should be stoned to death, because that's what it says in my favorite book of the Bible.
Today's post is about unleavened bread. Should you or shouldn't you eat it?
If you have sex with a woman on her period, technically you're supposed to both be killed.
yeah. Sorry, glad we backpedaled for that. Yeah, so then, Ethan doesn't know if he can trust Claire because she's miraculously back from the dead. He's like, I saw you explode in a car. And she's like, well, actually, I was conveniently not in the car. And he very erotically interrogates her here. His chemistry, Tom Cruise is like kind of famously not a great romantic actor, right? I feel like a lot of people have that opinion about him. And I feel like his chemistry in this movie with various characters is actually like some of the better stuff I've seen from him in that regard, like outside of Eyes Wide Shut, in which, him and Nicole Kidman have smoldering chemistry because they were actually in a relationship that was about to fall apart. But I think that it like works mostly pretty well for me here.
Yeah. There's I would agree if not for the fact that this actress sort of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be too hard on Emmanuelle Béart. That's my best guess at that.
She's a
last
French
name.
actress. This is one of her few English language film roles as far as I know. I
Yes.
think it's the only thing that I've seen her in.
Yes.
I think she has the charisma of a dead fish.
I don't think she's a very good actress.
She says every line like this, Ethan the knocklist.
Yeah.
Ethan, I don't know what's happening, Ethan. Yeah, it's What?
Of the two French actors in this film, Jean Reno is running circles around her.
Oh, no fucking shit, because he's Jean fucking Reno.
Yeah, she is one of the weaker performers in the movie. I will say, E.T. did provide us a piece of nice trivia about this actress, which I feel like we should sprinkle in because we're talking a lot of shit, which is that she's a UNICEF ambassador and a social activist fighting for the rights of immigrants and for improved immigration legislation in France. So that's good. It is better than her acting.
Maybe she should focus on that.
Maybe stick to the activism.
Instead of acting.
Yes. Also, just a more important life calling than acting. Fighting for the rights of immigrants in France, you're doing more good for the world than you are doing this type of performance in a Mission Impossible movie.
To your point about Tom Cruise's chemistry with actresses.
Yeah.
What's coming up here is he gets a reply from Max. They go through this rigmarole of him meeting Max, and it's revealed that Max is a woman, played by Vanessa Redgrave.
The great Dame Vanessa Redgrave.
And this whole time, Tom Cruise is playing this like he wants to fuck the shit out of this MILF.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is not a one-way street. She is playing that she wants to fuck the shit out of Ethan Hunt. This is going both ways. This is mutual flirting. They are horny for each other, and I am here for it. Horny Vanessa Redgrave? Yes, absolutely, 1000%. Give me more of it. The fact that she is like the Bond villain of this movie, basically, and she just like wants to jump Ethan Hunt's bones the whole time. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. She's one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah. He definitely wants to tussle with the cougar.
Yes.
He's got that.
How could you not? Vanessa Redgrave is incredible.
If the word cocksure could describe anyone, it's Tom Cruise in the 90s, and this boy is fucking cocksure as hell every time he looks at Vanessa Redgrave.
Yeah.
He is sure, and that is being motivated by his cock.
Yeah. Vanessa Redgrave is pretty sure that she is interested in that.
I sort of get it too. She's looking good.
Yeah.
She's looking good in that suit.
I get where both of them are coming from. They're both very hot. Vanessa Redgrave's awesome in this movie. Just anytime she was on screen, I was like, oh, this movie is 20% better anytime Vanessa Redgrave is speaking.
Yeah.
She's got the gravitas, you know?
There's a meeting here about the list. I don't exactly remember what happens because the list plot is so like twisty. But Kittredge is like just a few steps behind them, and they...
It's yeah, right. The thing is basically like the list that they got from the guy who was at the embassy who got murdered, and like the list got stolen, right?
Yeah.
The guy who brought it to them brought them a fake list, right? And the fake list was planted as part of the mole hunt by the IMF, so it has like a tracker in it. So when they put the floppy disk in the computer, it is also just very funny that this fucking super secret CIA list of all these agents' secret identities fits on a 230 megabyte floppy. Just, you know, again, very charming and quaint by today's standards. But it has a tracking device in it that when they boot it up, it basically immediately alerts Kittredge to their location.
Right.
Yeah.
But basically what is revealed is like he's going to go to Langley to steal the real list, and he has to put together a team made up of disavowed IMF agents, and I would just like to be the first to welcome to the show 90s legends Ving Rhames and Jean Reno.
Okay, David. First of all, when these two characters costumed immaculately to where you immediately get their whole thing.
Oh, Ving looks like he just walked off the set of Pulp Fiction.
He's in like
I'm
a
like, that's
white
just
suit
Marcellus
the first time
Wallace.
you see him, or like a cream suit the first time you see him, and then Ving Rhames is in the cream suit, and then Jean Reno is wearing a fucking like green military jacket, and he looks visibly damp with sweat. And has like not 5 o'clock shadow. We're gonna call this 10 o'clock shadow, right? Immediately you get both of their whole deal. I let out the world's biggest hell yeah, bigger than I let out at the credits. It definitely would have set off the fucking noise sensor in the vault, the volume of my hell yeah. And also, David, I think it is important that we welcome to the show Ving Rhames' character, Luther, a.k.a. the coolest man who has ever lived. Luther fucking rocks, dude. Ving Rhames fucking rules.
Good news, if you're going to continue with the franchise, he's in every movie.
I am.
He is the only character in every movie. I like that this franchise, sort of in the same way that like John Wick does, where like there's not a ton of recurring characters. We get a new team every movie, and some characters transfer over between movies, but there's always like a fresh face. Ving, always there to show up and sit in a chair and type on a laptop and say, Ethan.
I'm delighted to hear that because I just want so much more of this. I love that they got Ving Rhames, who is a giant monster of a man. He is fucking enormously jacked in this movie. I like that they got him as the hacker of the team. It rules so hard that he never fucking like fights at all. He like all he does is sit at a computer. And I'm like, that is fucking galaxy brain casting for what this character does in the movie, because it opens it up to a whole rich interior life that I'm sure this guy has. It just gets you asking questions. Why is he so jacked if he just sits at a computer for his job? He must just be a hobbyist. He just really likes working out, you know? And why is he so fucking dripped out if he's just a fucking nerd-ass hacker? It's like his whole vibe. He is such an enigma in this movie, and it rocks so hard. I love when they're at the hideout, when Tom Cruise is doing magic tricks to Jean Reno, and he's wearing like the visor thing to like work on his like microchips or whatever, and it's like flipped up, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? What is, like, I understand Jean Reno is like being a scumbag and trying to like leverage the disc over Ethan, and Ethan's being a fucking shitheel and being like, oh look, I made it disappear. I get all of this that's happening. I'm really way more interested in what Luther's doing with those little goggles. I gotta know what that's about. Oh god, he rocks so hard. I love him.
Yeah, he's really just Ethan Hunt's best friend, and every time Ethan's going rogue, he calls up Luther, and Luther's like, let's fucking go, man.
Ethan.
I'm there for you, Ethan.
I'm glad that
You're my brother, Ethan.
I'm glad that you can do a Ving Rhames impression, because it gives me a little insight into what it would be like if Ving Rhames was my best friend. Which is really what I want after watching this movie. I want to drink a beer with Ving Rhames so fucking bad.
Dude, that last scene with them together, I was like, fuck yeah, man.
Also, my mind was blown by one of E.T.'s research facts, which is, I didn't know Ving was short for Irving. Apparently his name is his legal name is Irving Rhames. Mm-hmm. Apparently Stanley Tucci is responsible for nicknaming him Ving. When they were at SUNY Purchase together, apparently Stanley Tucci was like, I'm going to call you Ving. And that's why he's called that, which is like, that just, I don't know, just the idea that Stanley Tucci, of all people, was like, you know, you should go by Ving. It's bananas to me.
This has been the... No, we don't do it.
We
don't end this segment that way.
For that one.
I do want to talk about Jean Reno.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I want to go back. In terms of Ving showing up. Did you think Ving was going to betray Ethan?
No. The vibe that I got from Ving Rhames, basically from the jump, was this guy's on the level, and I was like, I think he's one of the good guys.
Okay.
Almost immediately, it is very clear that Jean Reno is a scumbag.
Because Jean Reno is doing the Jean Reno thing, and I just want to say, movies were better when Jean Reno was in them.
Yeah.
When Jean Reno regularly showed up in movies, it was a better time.
Yeah. He also rocks in this movie.
Ronan,
yeah,
which we're going to talk about at some point, because Ronan fucking whips ass.
Our research also clued me into the fact that apparently Jean Reno was supposed to play Agent Smith in the first Matrix movie.
Oh, man.
Which I can't even, like, obviously Hugo Weaving is the best possible casting option for that.
Monsieur Anderson, you disappoint me.
I am going to enjoy watching you die, Mr. Anderson. I do think Agent Smith, the only way Agent Smith could be as menacing as if he was Hugo Weaving is if he was French. There is something about sentient AI talking to you in Jean Reno's voice that makes it feel like simultaneously like very scary, but also like maybe weirdly sexy too. Yeah.
But basically now we are at the scene.
Yeah.
The scene.
If I was aware that this happened in this movie,
yes,
having never seen the movie before.
If there is a movie that is made by one particular scene, defined by one particular scene, I think it is Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Because the whole vault scene it's so good.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
like this is one of the best movie scenes, one of the best directed movie scenes of all time. You could show this in film school. I mean, I don't know really what we can say about that hasn't been said already.
Yeah.
It does such a great job of establishing the stakes.
Yep.
Of setting up the rules of this of this heist.
Mm-hmm.
And it executes it all perfectly. It's always just a few steps. Again, it's just a few steps ahead of you. It doesn't give you all of the information up front. It just gives you what you need to know going in. And it's fucking awesome.
And it's intercut with a stuffed shirt from the CIA vomiting into a trash can repeatedly.
This guy who's having the worst day of his life.
He's just reading the Washington Post. A beautiful woman sits down next to him and sort of silently quasi-flirts with him for a second, which gives him a little confidence boost, and then immediately his guts are in turmoil.
She poisons his coffee and then plants a tracker on him.
Yes, but I love him just fucking barfing and shitting his brains out. We don't see the shitting, but presumably it's happening too. And I love that every time you see him, he gets paler and more like gaunt. Like, it's just like his world is being rocked. And I'm like, dude, go home. Like, I promise you, your bosses at the CIA will understand if you're like, I am puking my fucking guts out. I'm gonna leave for the day. But he's really dedicated. He's like, I gotta do some typing at this terminal.
This guy also has just like one of the all-time movie faces.
He's got a great face.
Just a fucking great face on this guy.
Yeah, which I think is like intentional on the part of the filmmakers, right? It's like they knew they needed a guy with a face for this part so that you recognize him every time he pops up in this sequence immediately, so that you're not like, wait, who is that guy? It's like, no, yeah, I know that fucking guy. Yeah, man, him going into the fucking vault room and popping open the Tums and like taking a bunch of Tums and then sitting down typing at the computer a little bit and immediately just hurling into the trash can really got me. I was not expecting to laugh that hard.
I love the scene in the hallway when he leaves the bathroom and sort of like straightens his tie and is ready to go back in. He's like, nope, it's coming back.
Been there, dude.
So the trailers for Final Reckoning have been showing things from the other movies and sort of setting it up like everything's connected.
Right.
So you get some of the MacGuffins from the previous movies. And I think at the very end the reveal is going to be a door opens and this fucking guy walks out and he's like, yes, Ethan, it's me, the author of all your misery.
I've been behind this all along.
You ruined my job at the CIA and I got shipped off to fucking Alaska.
That also got a huge laugh from me. Henry Czerny's delivery of that is one of the funniest moments of the whole movie, where he's like, one of his underlings at the CIA is like, well, what are we gonna do with fucking Pukey Pants over there? And he's like, get him out of my fucking sight. I never want to see that guy again. Ship him to Alaska, set him up at a radar outpost. We'll mail him his clothes. It's so awesome. Oh man, yeah, if he just was revealed as the big bad of the whole franchise.
William Donlow is behind it all. What a sad name, too.
Yeah, Don Lowe. Oh man. Yeah, and aside from the puking, obviously the rest of the sequence, it's like, yeah, it goes without saying, it's the best shit that anyone's ever put in a movie.
Yeah, the wire work's incredible.
Tom Cruise, his physical performance in this scene is insane and amazing. He is also acting
the core strength this must take.
Oh yeah. Well, he looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean he's definitely in his prime.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But he's also doing a lot of great silent face acting in this sequence, and I'm like, this is some of the best acting from him in the whole movie is in this sequence where he's not saying a goddamn word. You know, like he's just doing shit with his face, and you get all of the tension and all of his interiority. You get like the stakes, and everything just from faces that he's making, and it rocks. It's so good, and he's wearing tiny little glasses and little ballet slippers. It rules.
Yeah, little rock climbing shoes or some shit.
Yeah.
Which apparently he had to stick coins in to counterbalance his weight for those scenes where he's just hanging and typing at the computer.
Yeah, his big old noggin was weighing him down, so he had to weigh down his shoesies
because he kept slamming into the floor.
just Tom Cruise headbutting the floor over and over again. Somebody get some pennies in this man's shoes.
After a few of those, he was probably like, "What if we were created by aliens?" That's where it all went wrong.
Yeah,
head trauma from Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Millions of dollars later, he's the second in command figurehead to one of the world's silliest religions. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing else we can really say about it. It's good. It's a good scene.
I love that there's no music.
Yeah, the silence is part of it. Yep.
It's edited so well. I love all of the little things that could go wrong that it sets up, like
the noise,
the
and
drop of sweat.
The drop of sweat is insane. It is insane that 2 drops of liquid going down his little glasses make your asshole clench and move you to the edge of your seat. It's like just such amazing filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I love the way it ends with him, getting hoisted back up into the vent really, really quickly in a way that almost trips the sound alarm. And then Jean Reno drops his knife.
Yes.
And it lands in the desk, and that's what tips off this fucking office drone.
Yeah.
Who is about to get demoted heavily.
Severely demoted, yeah. Yeah. Jean Reno's huge serrated knife, which is a clue for later. I also like that Jean Reno murks a rat in the vent during this sequence. That's very fun. I like the rat sneaking up on him and him being like, "Oh no, no." And he like drops Cruise for a second just to fucking kill this rat, and then the next time it cuts back to him, there's just a dead rat in the background. It's a nice touch.
Yeah,
I thought it was funny. It also seemed like what's the character's name?
Krieger,
that's it. I think that the rat kill is also like a little sly way for Krieger to counteract Ethan's no-kill rule that he took exception to. He's like, "Oh, if I cannot kill any of these CIA drones, I am at least going to kill this fucking rat." You say 0 body count. I think not.
Well, and
because he does say we'll see about that.
Yeah,
when Ethan's like 0 body count.
I like that too, where there's just enough things that Jean Reno does wrong, or the mistakes that he makes that sort of set off the fact that he might double cross Ethan.
Yes, that he's not on the level.
Yeah. And that shot of Ethan holding his arm against the door with the knife. So that we make sure that Ethan gets a good look at that knife.
Yep.
For later. Yeah, it's a fucking incredible scene.
It's great.
And it's
the movies, baby.
The movies. I love the movies.
And yeah, so then they have the knock list. And there's the shit where they like go back to the hideout.
And Ethan starts doing magic tricks. This goes on for so long.
Yes.
I forgot.
It is a little too much.
I also sort of wish Ethan kept doing magic tricks in the rest of the movies because I think this is the only time he does anything like this.
I kind of think Tom Cruise just learned some magic tricks.
I
and
sort of think so.
wanted to do them.
I would not be surprised if this 100% came from Tom Cruise.
He was like, Brian, you gotta find a way to get the magic tricks in. Tell David Koepp and Steve Zalian, I need a scene where I make something disappear and then I pull it out of somebody else's pocket. Because I just learned how to do that. Yeah, it goes on a little too long.
Yeah.
But I do like him just trolling the shit out of Jean Reno. And Jean Reno being like, just totally unamused by it. It goes on a little too long, but it is funny. Just seeing him dance circles around him.
Jean Reno is also acting very suspicious.
Yes.
Ethan, where's the knucklist? That's a little too Arnold.
Where's the knucklist?
But yeah, he's just like he's being really annoying and suspicious. Ethan sees on the news that his parents have been arrested, and it's a ploy by Kittredge to get Ethan out into the open.
Right.
So he goes and calls him on a phone booth. And Kittredge starts trying to track him, and I love that you can see Ethan check the time on a clock to know to hang up right before they can track him because it takes like 30 seconds or something.
Yeah.
I love the way that they reveal that.
And then Kittredge immediately is like, he wanted us to know that he's in London, but not exactly where.
Yeah.
So Kittredge knows that Ethan is like playing them, it's just fun. All of that stuff is very fun to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jon Voight jump scare. Just like in Reagan.
Just like in any time you see that guy's face in your social media feed. Just like presumably in Angelina Jolie's nightmares. I am a shit dad. But yes, he pops back up and he's like, hey, turns out I lived, bitch. And they have a conversation where Ethan is basically like, explain this to me because shit's not adding up. And Jon Voight's like, well, actually, you see, I am the good guy here and Kittredge is the mole. And I love that the movie never tries to make you believe that Ethan Hunt buys this, because immediately when he says that, you see Ethan Hunt putting it together. Right.
You see Ethan Hunt's mind working as he sort of flashes back and tries to reconstruct all the deaths and the scenes from earlier from the embassy job.
This to me is a great example of this movie trusting the intelligence of its audience.
Right.
Because the movie does twist and turn on you and tries to pull the rug out from under you a couple times. It doesn't do that here, because the script knows that the audience is intelligent enough to already not believe Jon Voight. When Jon Voight shows back up, I was already like, I don't trust this guy. He is clearly in on it, right? And because I was already there, the movie's like, we know you're already there. We are going to tell you you're right instead of playing with you, because we know you already know. You know, it's such a good choice.
And there's a moment here where he's suspicious of Claire. He thinks that she detonated the bomb that blew up the car.
Yeah.
But he goes back on it and thinks about it again for a second. And I like that little misdirect and the way the movie shows how his brain is working.
Yes. And when he's talking to Voight, he's saying what he's saying out loud is like, oh, I believe you about Kittredge. And like, oh, maybe someone was in on it with him. No, wait, he could have done it himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the movie's doing both things, showing you what's in his head and making it clear that Voight still believes that Hunt is buying what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
It's really smart writing.
If there's a scene that improved for me on this time the most, I think it was probably this, because I don't think I picked up on how elegantly this is done in the past. I think it's really, really just great visual storytelling and cinematic language and great writing.
Yeah. Great writing overall in this script, I think. I just think this is a really good script.
I think it's a good script with a few hiccups, and I think some of those hiccups hurt my enjoyment of this movie a little bit overall. It's a smart script that I wish was just a little bit smarter. I think. Yeah. Especially with Koepp and Zalian writing it.
Yeah.
I can see why they wrote it. Like it reads that way, but I think part of that is just age too. Like some of the leaps in logic that you have to make with some of the espionage elements and the internet stuff, and it's like maybe this read better to an audience in 96.
96, yeah. Who weren't already consuming
what's
things
an internet.
Right. Well, part of it is like by the time we saw this movie, we had already consumed things that were influenced by this movie, right? But I feel like if like you saw this in 96 in the theater, there had been fewer points of comparison because the cultural legacy of this movie is so massive, you know.
So we are at the end of the movie. He arranges to meet Max on the bullet train to deliver the list and get a cash reward for it. And this is the weakest sequence in the movie, I think.
I agree with that. I think the first like hour 15 of this movie is kind of close to a perfect movie to me. Like some of the internet stuff that we already talked about, and you know, some of the slower moments maybe could have been improved, but it's like that's a really minor gripe for me. I kind of think the first like 80 or so minutes of this thing are very close to perfection, and I think the end is a little lame. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great camera work.
Yes.
During this sequence.
Yeah. And even though a lot of it is CGI, still some impressive stunts in this ending as well.
Yeah. There's a shot, I think, that like a long shot of the train that then becomes a close up. I think on Max does like one of the introductory shots.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shots of Jim assembling his Derringer.
Yes,
where you just see his hands putting the gun together. Stuff like that's really, really good. I love that Ving Rhames is actually on the train trying to block this signal, and he's in on the mission rather than just sitting in a truck or sitting in an office somewhere else like in every other movie.
Yeah, he at least got on the train for
Ving
Rhames
Rhames really just shows up to sit in a chair and type on a laptop in every movie, and it's just like, fuck yeah, Ving.
Hell yeah.
I do think his outfits...
Just a guy with biceps the size of like a toddler's head sitting at a computer is such an arresting visual.
I do think his outfits go down in quality.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point it becomes he's wearing like bowling shirts and fedoras. But I like those. I like those better than him showing up in his like suit with the earrings and the shades, like he's Marcellus Wallace in this. I sort of like divorced dad Ving Rhames.
Divorced dad Luther. I would watch a movie that was only Luther. If after, because I know this is the last Mission Impossible movie, if the next one that they want to do is just only Luther, I will say after only watching one of these, I would go to the theater for that movie.
Luther Impossible.
Luther, a Mission Impossible story.
So Claire makes her way to the back of the train and thinks that she's meeting Jim. It's a Mission Impossible movie, so it's Tom Cruise in a mask.
Yep.
And reveals out loud, she's like, Jim, remember how we were going to betray Ethan and take the money? Well, we're going to betray him, right? That thing that we agreed to do,
but
we're definitely going to betray him.
Maybe we should not kill him because I am a little bit horny. I don't know why that turned Italian. She is French. Just bad accent work on this episode from both of us. You need to be sent to improv jail.
Except for my Ving Rhames, apparently.
Well, that's not an accent. That's just Ving Rhames' voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I love that he's just staring eerily silently at her because he can't talk because he'll just sound like Tom Cruise, which I understand they fix in later movies. There's a thing where it changes your voice.
Yeah. The masks get ridiculous, and I love that. I also sort of wish we lived in a world where they kept with the Rob Bottin practical mask effects.
Yeah.
Because from here on out, it basically just becomes CGI and digital trickery where the actor goes to pull the mask off and we digitally switch it to Tom Cruise and insert him in there. There's still some fun filmmaking techniques that they use in the mask scenes later on, but I really fucking like those Rob Bottin practical makeup effects at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I really like the Rob Bottin masks too. There's a great part in the embassy sequence where like he's in the senator mask and you see him just start to peel away the edge of it and then it cuts away. That one I was like, that's really fucking good. And you can tell that the master Rob Bottin worked on this movie because of how good that mask pull specifically looks.
I think this mask pull looks good too.
Yeah.
Again, on my standard def DVD, I don't know how it looks in HD.
On the HD, so E.T. did mention this to me in person that they thought it's very funny, and I agree. When you there's a shot of Jon Voight sitting there, and it is just Jon Voight, and then there's a reverse shot of the actress who plays Claire, and then it cuts back to Jon Voight, but now it's just Tom Cruise in a Jon Voight mask, and it is like you really can tell where it's like, oh, that's not actually Jon Voight anymore. I can tell. I know that big ugly mug anywhere. This is a Rob Bottin approximation of it. Yeah.
And then Jim actually shows up and emerges from the shadows.
Yeah.
Jim talks. Jim's motivation is a little mysterious in this movie. He sort of talks about it in the scene where Ethan puts it together.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Why?" Ethan's like, "Why would Kittredge do this?" And then Jon Voight's just sort of like rambles for a second.
Yeah, he's basically like, well, the Cold War's over.
Yeah,
they don't need super spies anymore. We're obsolete pieces of hardware that they're just gonna like throw in the trash. And like now that our importance to our country and to the world has been diminished, all we are is basically just like fucking government lackeys making too little money and we're just gonna be like disposed of, right? And I think he wants like the honor and the glory
right
that he had in the Cold War days, and like that's all gone.
Right. It's a little weak. It comes across as a little weak.
I think it worked well enough for me, him saying that as Kittredge's motivation, but it clearly being his motivation. It worked well enough for me where I was like, okay, I kind of get it. And also, like, the motivation is $10 million. Like, you don't need much more motivation than that.
Right.
So that's the other piece. Right.
But he also talks about
that's certainly what Jean Reno's flying that helicopter into a tunnel for.
I don't know if I'd do it for 10 mil. Maybe 10 mil in 96.
As soon as he flies that helicopter into that tunnel, I was like, dude, you realize this is the channel. This shit's miles long. You are gonna die in this. There is no way you can pilot a helicopter through the channel successfully from end to end. Like, you will die in that tunnel. But he doesn't care. The call of that sweet $10 million in fucking negotiable bonds or whatever is worth it.
There's also a bit here where he talks about like trying to get Claire to seduce him, which doesn't really work because clearly Tom just wants to fucking bang that cougar.
Yeah, he does have better chemistry with Max than he does with Claire. But yeah, so then here basically the twist on the audience and on Jon Voight is that Ethan has been recording this entire conversation with the spy glasses in his pocket, right? And so it's like, even if Jon Voight kills him, they already know that he's alive and that he stole the $10 million.
He's broadcasting it to Kittredge.
To Kittredge, and they've been working together, which is kind of the twist that the movie pulls on you, the viewer, because you never see him and Kittredge plan this in any way. But Kittredge does have like the feed to this, so it's clear that they like linked up at some point, and the movie just didn't show it to you, and that works fine for me. Yeah, I was like, oh, that is like a rug pull moment that really works for me, and it's like, yeah, are you cheating because you didn't give us the any clues that they like met up secretly? Like, sure, maybe, but it's like I like it.
Right.
You know?
And then they climb on top of the train and flop around for a bit.
Yeah.
And I think this is really effective, really well done stuff for like the first minute. And then it becomes a lot of flapping around.
Yeah.
And I mean, what else can you do on the top of a bullet train, I guess?
Yeah.
And like it's they didn't shoot this for real. It's in a wind tunnel on a set. I think it's effective enough. I think it still looks pretty good. But I do sort of I would kind of love them to do a redo of this in a modern movie. I think there's probably a few scenes on a train in these more recent ones, but I do love you feel the speed of the bullet train, you feel it whipping them around, and like Ethan's jacket flies off, and Jim has his little suction cups that he can climb along the train.
Yes.
And I'm also just
early in
like,
the movie, yeah.
I'm like, how is Jon Voight doing this at fucking 60 or whatever? This old guy would be dead as hell.
You know what's crazy? This is this is also from ET's research. Tom Cruise is older now than Jon Voight was in this movie, which is so fucking crazy.
Oh, because he made a blood sacrifice to Xenu for eternal youth.
Yeah. Whereas Jon Voight he follows the Star Wars rule of aging, which is the more evil you are, the worse you look.
Yes. Yes.
And as a result, he fucking looks like dog shit now.
Yeah, the CGI de-aging in Reagan is not hiding it. I'm like, no, that's Emperor Palpatine. You can't smooth those out in Photoshop or whatever.
I'd recognize
After Effects.
that racist potato anywhere.
Jean Reno shows up in a CGI helicopter, and Jim's escape plan is to like hook up a cable to the helicopter and
then like attach it to himself. I think
it's very silly.
Yeah,
and then the helicopter goes into the tunnel.
Yeah. And this whole bit is everything except for the actors is CGI.
Yeah, this is all CG
in this bit. And honestly, for 1996, it does look pretty good. I wish that more of this was like practical. Like I wish that they had managed to do shit with a real helicopter here and stuff. But it's not egregious considering the time it came out.
Even on my standard def DVD, it sort of looks like a video game.
Yeah.
At points, but I think it looks okay overall.
Yeah.
But it does feel it feels like it is go a step too far for what the movie has set up in terms of grounding things in reality,
right,
and the type of action that this movie has.
And this is kind of a thing where it's like, yeah, the subsequent entries in this franchise, it sounds like, from as someone who hasn't seen them but knows a bit about it, it sounds like this set piece is sort of the type of thing that the sequels really latch onto.
Right, they'll do
more of
similar stuff to this practically.
Yes,
and it works much better in the sequels. So
yes,
it's like it's this weird middle ground where it doesn't fit for this movie and it doesn't fit with what the series does going forward.
Right, but without it, the sequels might not have done that because the groundwork wouldn't have been there for this type of scene. You know.
Possibly, I really think like just Tom doing his own stunts in the wire work scene. And
that's true.
Even the aquarium explosion, I think that probably sets it up more. Because the thing about the CIA heist is almost every movie does its own version of the CIA heist again, where Tom's dropping into a secure area that has rules set up where he has to get a thing, and it's all very tense and well directed. And very, very clear to the audience what the stakes are. None of them do it as well as the first one.
Right.
But in terms of like, we go on to the second one, and because it's a John Woo movie and it's the 2000s and everything has to be extreme and over the top, it's basically the same thing except he's skydiving into a building inside. There's no wire involved. It's just like, all right, you got to skydive in and get the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just saw this heist one movie ago.
Right. But this time there's doves.
There's doves. I think there are some doves in there.
Well,
Not in that heist, but I think John sneaks some doves into
he would almost
Mission
have to.
Impossible too.
Is it even a John Woo movie without doves? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The sequence is like, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's okay. It's kind of lame compared to the rest of the movie.
It's
for me.
It's the weakest part of the movie. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
John Reno tries to kill him with the helicopter blades, which is a little ridiculous.
Although I
but-
do that is a bit that sort of works for me, mostly because it pays off.
I think
later.
the way it ends is really cool.
Yes, me too.
But at this point, it's like, dude, you're already in the tunnel in a helicopter, and now you're going to try to kill Tom Cruise
Yeah,
with
maybe
helicopter
don't
blades.
tilt your helicopter so that the tail is hitting the top of the tunnel.
Maybe focus on trying to land this fucking thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Now that you're disconnected from the train, abort mission, dude. The 10 million ain't worth it.
I do love the model work that's used for the helicopter exploding. I don't like the CGI explosion that pushes
Yeah.
pushes Tom Cruise back onto the train.
Yeah. It is a shame in a movie with that also contains the aquarium explosion and the car explosion, both of which are way better. And they're practical. They blow that car up so well that they show it to us 3 times, by the way. that car, they blow the fuck up out of that car. And it's like, they show it to you when it happens and then twice in the flashback.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, we really blew the shit out of that car.
Solid explosions.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to that fucking gas station going up in Stone Cold, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Ugh.
That's the mother-of-all explosions.
Glorious.
But this helicopter explosion is CG and it doesn't look as good.
But I think the model work that when they blow up the model and it's like the helicopter cockpit is tumbling
Yes.
through the tunnel, that's good.
That's cool. And then I really like the train stopping and the helicopter stopping with the blade like an inch away from Tom Cruise's neck. That shit is really good. Where I'm like, okay, like a lot of this sequence was kind of, mid, but like that they really stick the landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
stuffy British conductor fainting.
You're right. That's fun. And I like that the blade's all fucked up and sharpened and destroyed. It looks scary as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they arrest Max.
Yep.
Tom's back in
In
the
good with the
grace,
IMF.
good graces with the IMF until the next time he goes rogue.
And Ving Rhames is also taken off of the disavowed list, so
Yeah.
he's backing the good graces of the IMF too. And they have a beer, which again, just my dream is sipping a beer with Ving Rhames.
They have a beer and they're like, we're gonna be best friends forever, right? And like, hell yeah.
Yep.
And Ethan's parents are cleared of their charges.
Yeah.
Ethan's parents don't really come back. It's like it's weird thing in this movie.
It's
And
right.
they
It's just a
just
thing
sort
where
of forget
Kittredge
about
is
it.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna try and get leverage over him by falsely accusing his parents of drug manufacturing," and it doesn't work. And so then at the end, they're just like, "Oh, by the way, his parents are fine."
Yeah. And then Tom gets on a plane and gets his next mission.
Yes, if he
via
chooses
movie
to accept
tape
it.
again.
Yep.
And then dun 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 dun.
Ba-da-da. Ba-da-da.
And that's Mission Impossible.
That's Mission Impossible.
Justus.
David?
Just my voice cracked weird there. Justice. Justice.
Ving?
Is Mission Impossible the greatest movie ever made?
David. This one's kind of hard. Cause like immediately after finishing it, when I was weighing what I was gonna say, I was like, so much. Like I said, I kind of think the first 80 minutes of this is like basically a perfect movie, and then the last 30 minutes have some stuff that doesn't land with me as well, and the movie kind of ends up feeling like it outstays its welcome a smidge as a result of it kind of being backloaded with all of my least favorite stuff. So it's hard because right when you finish the movie, you're like, well, that wasn't the greatest movie ever made because I didn't like the ending as much. And then I was like thinking about the first 80 minutes and being like, but that's some of the best shit I've ever seen in this type of movie. And so, like, it's hard. And ultimately where I landed was I don't know what I'm going to say when David asks me this question on mic. I do know now. This is going to be a case of, like, the difference between a no and a yes verdict is kind of like a hair's breadth. I'm landing on the no side. I'm going to say it is, like, barely not the greatest movie ever made because of the reason that I already said, which is, like, it front loads all of its best shit and then ends kind of limp, you know? And I feel like I'm being too hard on the ending because compared to other spy movies that I've seen, other action movies that I've seen, the ending of this movie is still pretty good. It's not bad. It's just compared to the rest of the movie, it's not as awesome. And you really want the ending to live up to everything else that the movie has already delivered to you. And it just doesn't quite for me. And so it's like, I don't think it can be the greatest movie ever made because of that flaw. But I do think there is a world in which, with some just very minor tweaks, this could have totally been a yes from me. And I'm excited to dive into more of the franchise because I've heard that a lot of people think that the first one isn't even top 3 for this franchise. And if that ends up being true, like, I'm gonna really fucking love some of these other movies. And I love that this one started it. Also, it bears repeating that Brian DePalma directs the fuck out of this movie, and that Danny Elfman puts his entire pussy into this score. It is just like pure entertainment of the highest order, delivered to us by the king of movies, Tom Cruise. And and it doesn't quite cross the finish line in a way that satisfies what I expect from those elements, but it's still a fucking really good time, and I loved it. David, is Mission Impossible the greatest movie ever made?
Justus, I'm sort of in a similar position that you're in, where I'm kind of, I was kind of teetering, and I sort of ended up on the no side. I think I'm maybe a little bit further on the no than you are, ever so slightly. It's one of those things where what separates a no and a yes is really, really slim, and I think my no is just slightly below your no.
Mm-hmm. Your no's are usually below my nose because I have lower standards than you.
Yeah, maybe you just are more in touch with the joys of cinema. Maybe you just love things more.
Maybe.
And I'm too much of a hardened cynic and a bitter piece of shit that I can't love things the way
it
that
could
you
also
love
just
them.
be like I have less media literacy than you
know.
and I'm dumber.
Part of it is my history with this movie, and I
Right.
sort of have to acknowledge that, like, it took a while for me to love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And even the last time that I saw it, which was only a couple of years ago when Dead Reckoning came out, I still was struggling with it, and there are still things that I struggle with it on this watch. I think the low points really hold this back for me. I think most of the espionage thriller stuff, the quiet moments, the paranoid moments, the moments in the safe house, a lot of them work, and when they don't, they kind of kill my enjoyment of the film, and they slow things down a little bit too much. And I think the ending is fine. It's something that I would have expected from, like, a lesser action movie, frankly.
Yeah.
But it's directed by Brian DePalma,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very slick and very well directed. I love his placement of the camera. I love the control that he has over so much of this movie, and how good this movie is at revealing information to the characters and to the audience. The fact that he does basically the same scene twice, the Kittredge scene in the aquarium and the scene with Jim after Ethan meets him for the first time, following the accident, or following the mission going wrong and revealing that he's still alive. And the way both of those scenes reveal what the other character's thinking about the other, I think that's all just, like, fantastic stuff. I love young 90s Tom Cruise with a fire under his ass, just rocking and rolling his way up and down this fucking thing. A couple of the performances suck the life out of it, like the lady playing Claire. And actually, I love Jean Reno. I don't know if this is my favorite Jean Reno performance.
Yeah,
I think
he's almost not in it enough.
I
kept wishing that he would talk more and
Yeah.
do more.
Yeah.
You know.
But we got Ving and we got Henry Czerny playing Kittredge, and those are both like fucking amazing performances. And again, I think this is a movie that is defined by that one scene, and that one scene is perfect. Amazing filmmaking. The movie around that scene is often great, sometimes a little bit boring.
Yeah.
And a little bit sluggish and clunky for me. So I'm going to say no. I think this is one of the better Mission Impossible movies, but at this point, and I'm going to rewatch these. Like I'm excited to rewatch these. Like after watching this, I was like, fuck, I just want to watch 2 now, but if I watch 2, then I'll forget what happened in the first one before recording.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go home tonight and watch 2. I think the ones that are better than this are Ghost Protocol and Fallout. So like it's a good movie. It's a great movie even with a lot of really, really well done sequences, but I also know that this series is capable of bigger and better things. And so I'm going to say no.
Fair enough.
I'm interested to see what you think of the rest of the franchise whenever you get around to them.
Yeah, knowing me and my busy schedule, it will probably be multiple months before I watch all of these movies, but I do intend to.
So that's Mission Impossible. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks to E.T. for the research.
Thanks to E.T. We're so excited to be working with them. I think like we're going to have a very fruitful partnership, and I'm just looking forward to like taking this show to bigger and better places with them on board.
Yeah, it hopefully, and I shouldn't say hopefully because I'm actually quite sure the show will get better due to ET being involved. So if you're already a fan of the show, the good news is it's gonna get better. And if you're not a fan of the show, I'm not sure why you're still listening, but rest assured, future episodes will only get better because ET is involved.
I'm not sure why you're listening, but I appreciate the engagement all the same. Please,
Speaking of engagement,
please spread the word about the show to your friends on social media. Like, rate, review. Leave us a nice, crispy review.
If you don't always remember our media recommendations and we shouted out something that sounds interesting to you, a thing that we're going to start doing is posting media recommendations from the episode on our Instagram stories. So make sure you're following us on Instagram so that you can have your memory jogged and be reminded to watch My Neighbor Totoro.
Or listen to whatever noise rock band Justus recommends every week.
Yeah, if you ever want to hear someone screaming at you through your earbuds while the sounds of pots and pans being banged together happens, you can check out all those bands I'm recommending.
And if you've watched the movie and listened to the episode, let us know what you thought of it. We love you guys. We appreciate you so much. Next week, we're going to be watching our first Wes Anderson film that we've covered on the show, and it's one that neither of us have seen, and it is considered by many, I would think, to be his masterpiece, so we'll be interested to see if we agree with that. And I'm, of course, talking about The Royal Tenenbaums, starring the late, great Gene Hackman, along with Jason Schwartzman, I'm sure, is in there.
Oh,
somewhere.
Probably.
I know Gwyneth Paltrow's in it. I don't know who else is in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know almost nothing about this movie, so it's going to be very interesting for me to dive into Wes Anderson that I have basically no context for other than knowing people really like it.
Yep, I don't know anything about it either, and we'll get a chance to talk about Wes next week.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we love you all so much. We'll give you a little kiss on the forehead. You're beautiful. Have a good week.
Why are you Russian now?
Treat each other with kindness and love.
I guess this movie opens in Ukraine.
And as always,
Later,
dipshits.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast, and if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com.